Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Hi guys, and welcome to another Fool of the Week. This week's Fool is Lee Anderson. So the Kent Fire and Rescue Service has received an award for equality, diversity and inclusion from an organisation called Open Doors, which promotes the rights of LGBTQ+ people. Now this has made a lot of people very angry, of course, including the Daily Mail, which ran a story on it which they quoted conservative commentators describing it as pandering to a small minority. But back to our Fool of the Week, Lee. This is what he had to say in reaction to the story.
Finally, Lee, got to speak to you about this cultural issue. What do you make of the Kent Fire and Rescue Service telling staff that they have to use gender-neutral language during emergency call-outs in order to embrace diversity? So if your house is burning to the ground, you don't want to be misgendered, apparently.
Well, again, Dan, I mean, if your house is on fire, say you live in a block of flats, you're on the top floor, that's on fire, the fire brigade come, and the chief shouts up to the building, before we can turn our hoses on, before we can put a ladder up, we need to know what pronouns to use. What a load of nonsense that is.
That is a load of nonsense, because obviously that would not happen. Either Lee Anderson doesn't understand this, or more likely he's just lying to the public in order to make people angry. And it's very easy to make people angry, it seems. Now, what would happen, of course, is the firefighters would put out the fire, but when they're dealing with members of the public, maybe victims of this fire, they have to approach it in a humane and inclusive way. Why is that a problem? I compare this with people who are called Patrick preferring to be called Pat. Don't call me Patrick, that's what my parents call me. Call me Pat. I prefer that. I feel more comfortable with that. Is it a problem for me to refer to somebody whose name on their birth certificate is Patrick as Pat? No, I don't have a problem with that, and I shouldn't.
All these people are interested in is to make sure the emergency services get there as quick as possible and rescue people. Like I said, Dan, before, there are a bunch of idiots in this country who lie awake at night thinking up of this nonsense. And I tell you what, when we eventually get these Rwanda flights off and running, get these idiots on the next plane and send them as well. That's
Leanne.
Oh my goodness, okay. Send who to Rwanda? Firefighters to Rwanda? The fire service to Rwanda? Okay, anyway. Look, language changes. How people interact changes. If you look at videos from the 1950s, probably where Lee Anderson wants to return Britain to, people wore suits when they went to the supermarket. People wore suits when they went to comic conventions. People, when they met, they would say, "How do you do?" When was the last time you heard somebody say, "How do you do?" Unless you're at Eton. We don't use that type of language anymore. Things change. Things progress. Our interactions with people change. Even 10, 15 years ago, maybe 15, 20 years ago, more likely, you wouldn't get a job if you had a tattoo. Now, if you go into a bar or a restaurant, you'll see people covered in tattoos. And I don't have a problem with that, of course. And why would I have a problem? As long as the service is good, I don't care what people put on their face or don't put on their face or wear their hair in whatever way or color or anything. Because times change, things change, people's interactions change. We have to be more open to this. Why? What is the advantage in being closed to this? What is the advantage in punishing the firefighters here? If they're doing their job, which is the most important thing, then what's Lee Anderson's problem? We need to be a bit more inclusive. Okay, once again, what is the major malfunction here? What is the serious issue that GB News and Lee Anderson have with all of this? Or is it just to make people who are angry even angrier? Angry over nothing. That's why he's our Fool of the Week. I'll see you next time for our next Fool of the Week.